You already sent this out to TVs everywhere? So Sony will go bankrupt? I have a family to feed. The PSP might not have had the same success in the Western world as it did in its home market of Japan, but it was still successful enough to attract a lot of third-party developers to its architecture. SEGA were very much on board with the PSP, and as a result they made some absolute bangers for it, whilst also making some seriously impressive ports too. While the DS would ultimately take the majority stake in the handheld market at the time, the PSP really showed that console-like experiences were perfectly achievable despite the graphical and storage limitations of the PSP. So let's take a look at 5 random SEGA games for the PSP and see how successful they were in delivering the full SEGA experience on the go. We now live in a world where Project Diva games routinely get Western releases, but for a time this series of rhythm games was entirely Japan exclusive. The first game, Hatsune Miku Project Diva, was a joint development between SEGA, Krypton Future Media and Dingo, releasing on the PSP in 2009. This rhythm game sees you using the face buttons and D-pad to play along with the rhythm of the main vocal melody of each song, occasionally making you play along to the lead instrumental melody in parts without vocals. You do this by timing your button presses with the symbols on screen as they line up with their corresponding symbols that gradually appear as the song progresses. It's a simple concept that hides a lot of depth as you have to contend with increasingly wild patterns and symbol movement as the songs progress in difficulty. As you play, you unlock more songs, making for a fairly simple setup that will get expanded in sequels. Its appeal is instantly recognisable even from this first entry, because the stylish characters, bright colours, motion captured dances and catchy pop songs are all really striking. It's a bit weird playing a rhythm game that requires precise timing at 30 FPS at first, but you soon get used to it, and it's definitely interesting to hear how many series staples started life in this game. You can even play the game in English now thanks to a great fan translation by WordGurn. If you click with Project Diva, then definitely explore the sequels, as they only get progressively better with each entry. Afterburner Black Falcon has the makeup of a game that should be kept away from your PSP collection. A PSP exclusive Afterburner sequel made by a Western developer? It sounds like a recipe for disaster, but despite an air of cheapness around its presentation, this 2007 Afterburner sequel from Planet Moon Studios isn't a million miles away from Sega's own Afterburner Climax from 2006. The action is fast and frantic, with a campaign split up into smaller missions that require you to meet certain criteria, almost like G-Lock. You have your standard Vulcan cannon, homing missiles and adjustable speed, but now you have a specific missile used for attacking ground-based enemies as well. It's a genuinely thrilling little game with some nice set pieces, with the only real letdowns being a forgettable soundtrack and some naff-looking motion comic style cutscenes. Look past that though, and you'll find a surprisingly fun little handheld Afterburner game. Sonic Rivals has the distinct privilege of being a Sonic game that launched the week after Sonic 06, marking the franchise's lowest ebb. It doesn't really deserve to be tarred with the same paintbrush though, because this co-development from SEGA Studios USA and Backbone Entertainment is a very unique little Sonic racing game. You see, Sonic Rivals takes the traditional 2D momentum-based Sonic stages of old and turns them into point-to-point races with another Sonic character. It also lets you mess with them by homing attacking them or using weapons that can be collected as you race through each stage. It's very nearly close to being a great Sonic game, but your character moves bizarrely slow and feels quite unresponsive. It improves when you get to higher speeds by quickly accelerating off boost pads and springs, and you can definitely hit a nice flow when you learn the courses, but it still feels strangely sludgy for a Sonic the Hedgehog game. Either way, it's still a much better Sonic game than 06, and a cool little oddity that is largely forgotten. There's a sequel too! For whatever reason, the initial D series has never really left Japan, which is a massive shame because this arcade street racing series based on popular manga seems widely known through its anime adaptation and various memes. Now this one isn't as English friendly and currently has no fan translation, but if you can fumble your way through the menus then you'll be treated to some of the most thrilling arcade racing ever. Backed with a banging Eurobeat soundtrack, you take your vehicle of choice through the gorgeous mountain roads of Japan and it looks incredibly impressive for a 2006 PSP game. Strangely, this game is a co-development between Sega and notorious Ghost developer Tosei, but it has all the quality and responsiveness you'd expect from a mainline initial D game. The cars handle beautifully, and it honestly feels incredible every time you hit a perfect drift. It's such a wonderfully put together game, and arcade racing fans should absolutely find a way to play it. Language barrier be damned.
まあいい。どうせこのバトルは俺に勝ちだ。ほらほら。
Kurohyu Ryogakutoku Shinso, or Black Panther Like a Dragon New Chapter in English, is the first of two PSP exclusive Yakuza games that never left Japan. You take control of a new character, Tatsuya Ukyo, who accidentally kills a Tojo clan leader trying to blackmail the Chinese mafia for money. It's set up more like Yakuza 1 and 2 with fixed camera angles as you explore Kamurocho, and it switches to a full 3D view when you get into fights, and they look incredible considering the hardware they're running on. I also really like the hand-drawn motion comic cutscenes, which are also fully voiced. The whole experience feels very much like a proper Yakuza game on a handheld, and thanks to the wonderful translation work of Team K4L, this is now fully playable in English. There are some really cool ideas in here, like a more grounded, realistic combat system, and damage that can be taken to individual body parts, which then need to be treated individually. This is all really good stuff that Yakuza fans should definitely seek out. There's actually quite a lot of Sega games for the PSP that we could take a look at in a future video, so please let us know if you'd like to see that some point down the line. Thanks as always to our generous Patreon backers for funding the creation of this video. If you'd like to join their ranks, then head on over to patreon.com/SEGADriven and subscribe at the $3 tier or higher. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.